Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to build this Adam Savage inspired Sortimo storage cart for small parts. And this is something you can use to get all your small parts organized and segregated so that you know where they are. You don't have to run around looking for stuff all over the shop, knowing that you have it but not knowing where to find it. This build is kind of specific to these Harbor Freight containers just because you can get these for really cheap at Harbor Freight. They come in two different sizes or two different thicknesses. I've got both incorporated into this design, but you can modify it based on what you think your needs are. You can also modify this cabinet to be just, one single side or a side-by-side cabinet like what I did here. This is a time saver, a money saver, and a stress saver when you're trying to get a project finished and you can't find that piece of hardware. This is going to help you out. So before I get into it, if you guys can do me a huge favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I do a lot of videos just like this, and let's get into it.
So I usually start out by squaring up the edges of my 2x or stud material, whatever I'm using. If it has especially like a rounded edge like a 2x4 usually does. And how I do that, I just set my table saw to 3 1/4 inches wide first, and I'll run each board through. And after that, I'll set the table saw fence to 3 inches and run the other side through, and then you get basically a square board. So now we've got 2 of the 4 sides of this 2x material squared up. Now I just like to run each of the faces through the planer once or twice until I get everything to the same thickness, and that just helps everything go together a little bit easier. You're not fighting with different thickness materials, which 2x's are generally 1.5 inches thick, but that can vary up to, like, I've seen it vary at least 1/8 of an inch either way. So nice to clean everything up with the planer here if you have one. Next, I cut all the drawer slides or the runners that the boxes slide on, and I cut these. These are out of like 1 inch wide material, and I cut them about 3 or 5/16 thick, I believe. So the easiest and most accurate way to mark your drawer runners is to line all of your vertical frame pieces up on edge and then mark all of the locations at once. Here I am going through and marking all of the boards at the same time. That way every mark is in the same vertical position. You're going to want to flip over the 2 center vertical frame pieces and mark those on the opposite side as well, because they're going to receive drawer runners on both sides. So the piece of plywood that I'm clamping in between the 2 vertical frame pieces is just there as a placeholder to keep the width correct while I nail all of these drawer runners in place. And now I'm gluing, and then I'm going to go through and brad nail everything, and once that's done I can remove that plywood spacer, and this thing is going to be very solid. So the spacing of these runners is going to vary, but essentially it's going to be the thickness of your box plus about 1/4 or 1/2 inch. So that might be 2 different dimensions depending on whether you're using the thicker boxes or the thin boxes. Remember, these two center pieces are going to receive the drawer runners on both sides. So once you get done with one side, flip everything over and repeat. So I'm using pocket holes to assemble the cabinet carcass or the cabinet frame. So I'm going through and drilling all the holes required for this project right now. And you want to make sure that your stop collar is set up to the correct depth for your drill bit, and also the Kreg jig is set for the correct height to accommodate whatever size board you're using. So there's usually a chart in the box for the Kreg jig that'll tell you where to set everything based on your material thickness. The easiest way to hold everything in place when you're trying to get screws into the pocket holes is to put a clamp around everything if you can. Otherwise, the glued pieces try to walk out on you when you're putting the screws in. Probably better make sure the boxes fit before I get any further. Just attaching the two frame pieces together. You could skip this step if you're just going to do a single width cabinet. And now I'm adding casters. These are a 4 or 5 inch caster, but if you got to run to the hardware store, just get whatever's cheap. You don't need anything super heavy duty for this. So these pieces are somewhat redundant. You don't necessarily need them for any structure because the drawer slides are doing essentially the same thing these are structure-wise, but I did want to add them so that I could add a top to this whole cabinet and have something solid to screw to all the way around and in the center. So this is just a PVC, or it might even be Teflon top, just a piece of that work was throwing out one day and I brought home, and anytime I can use something like that in a project, I try to. I just countersunk all the holes and used either some drywall screws or wood screws, but got that all fastened down to the cabinet, and now I'm just cleaning everything up to see what it's going to look like. So somehow I skipped filming it, but I did also cut a sheet of OSB to the dimensions of the back side of this cabinet, and I screwed that to it just to give it a little bit more structural rigidity, like sheathing on the side of a house. And I did also add that face frame. That is also for structural rigidity, but it also just makes it look a little bit better. Neither of those are critical to the success of your project, but very easy. Yeah, lots of videos on how to make a face frame if you guys want to do that as well. Now I'm taking some steel that I had laying around and just creating a handle for this thing. You'll see me weld that up here in a minute, and you can get creative with that, or you can go to the hardware store and buy a cheap handle.
So that's the project, guys. It turned out awesome. Couple things I did, I think, that I didn't get on camera, one of which was add this piece of OSB to the back that I had laying around. Just add some rigidity and strength to the cabinet frame overall. Same with the face frame on the front. It's both for make it look a little better, and it makes it a little bit stronger. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this build. And like I said, if you did, give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, because I do a lot of stuff like this, a lot of shop organization stuff and shop projects. So we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.